Hi, Julius here. In this video I'm going to show you some examples creating footage using MIDIGrade Lite. The clips I have here have been shot on Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and Arial XM cameras. Okay, let's start with this first clip. I want to do some basic adjustments first, because that usually brings up other problematic areas. So let's add some contrast and a lot of saturation. And immediately what this shows us is not only is the color of skin totally different, I can also see from the vector scopes that this image is way too warm. So I'll grab temperature and make it a little bit colder. And also it's going to the magenta side too much, so I'll just grab the tint and add some green into overall picture. So let's start by tackling his skin color. I'll create a new node, go to qualifiers, enable highlight, and let's find his skin tone. Around there. And let's widen the selection, add some softness, take out the desaturated parts and also the most saturated parts, which in this case are her skin color and the jacket. Like so, and also I want to get rid of the shadow parts of the image. And finally, let's add some denoise and blur. Right, there we have it. We can go to primary bars for this one and take out red, take out blue from the gamma. I'll take out a little bit of that greenness. And next what I want to do is go to gain and add yellow, take out green. Let's add a little bit of gamma luminance and gain luminance. And still we can take out gamma blue, gamma green, and we are already a lot closer to her skin color. It's maybe a little bit too green to my taste, so let's add gamma red and gain red just a tiny bit. Alright, next I want to separate them from the background, and that's easily done by creating a new node and creating a layer node. And first of all, I'll make a selection of them again, and I'm speaking of skin color especially. So we have their skin color there, and now let's just take a little bit off of the shadows areas. Like so, and add blur. And now what we can do is go back to the previous node, go to color adjustments, and let's bring down the color boost just a tiny bit, so that we have them more in balance, like so. What I can also do here is I can actually go to primary bars and bring down the gamma a little bit, just so we can add some contrast without affecting their skin color too much. And to make it more refined, we can go back to our skin node, go to window, add circular window, and just select their skin color like so. I'll create another one for her arm, like so, and third one for his arm. And now, as we can see, there's much more separation in them from the background. Okay, so how can we take this further? Let's say I want to add a vignette. I can append a node. Let's go back to window. I'll create the circular window and make a selection like this. There's no shortcut for this one, so let's just use our mouse for this one and invert the window. I'll go to color adjustments and bring down highlights. There's before and after. Maybe I want it to have even more effect, so I'll make the window smaller. And now again, that's before and after. Finally, let's try to have them separated even more by not letting the first skin adjustment affect the ground at all. So let's go back to the second node. Let's jump to window, and as we can see, the qualifier is affecting a lot of the ground. And again, what we can do here is create a new window here. And let's create a second window to find their skin color here too. Alright, and there we have it. This is before and after. So to break it down, we started off with the basic adjustments. That showed that his skin color had to be fixed. And then we made some overall adjustments to the look and separated the skin color from there. And finally added some vignette. And let's see it in motion. Let's go to this next clip. We have a close-up of these berries, and in this clip we can see the focus changing to the background. And I want to start off by just balancing this a tiny bit first, so let's bring down the lift luminance, bring down lift reds, and bring down lift blues. And to counteract those moves, I want to bring up gamma reds and gamma blues a tiny bit to make it more balanced. And again, I wish to add some color boost. And immediately what I'll notice again is that there's a little bit too much green in this one. So let's bring down green in gamma, like so, and we can counteract it with bringing green up in lift, and also the blues a tiny bit, and like so. Let's make the highlights a little bit broader. And just to make our work easier, I'll give it another nice boost in color boost, like so. So I feel like I really want to bring focus to these berries, so I'll create a new node and jump to curves. Let's go to hue versus saturation and select greens from here. And I feel like the greens are actually located more in the yellows, so let's grab the yellow parts and just bring that down. I can also go to hue versus luminance, and again let's grab the yellow parts and just bring them down, like so. So I feel like I could really pop out the reds more, so let's create a palette node, and with the qualifiers let's grab the red colors of the berries, like so. Get rid of the shadow parts and add blur. I can see also it affecting the top right corner, so let's just take rid of that, like so. And I want to track this forward, let's jump back to the start of the tracking and track backwards. There we go. So now I can go to color adjustments and I'll use tint to add some red. And let's add some contrast too. So we have them really pop out. And also a little bit of warmth. Like so. Now next, let's say I want to make this overall scene really moody. So I can start off by again creating a parallel window. With the qualifiers, let's pick just the brightest parts of the image. Like so. Add some blur. And now let's jump to color adjustments and I'll bring down gain Y. This basically behaves just like color wheels, because we cut out a specific part of luminance, but I'm seeing this weird halo effect. So let's go back to qualifiers and let's add more blur. We can fine tune the selection, and we can also add a little bit of gradient to this adjustment, like so. With this gradient I feel like we have a lot of room to go even darker. And now what we can do is create a really nice mood to this overall image. So let's append a node and go to primaries bars, and here we can really massage this into a moody world. So let's add a lot of blue into the gamma. Also let's take out some red, and again to counteract this add some red in lift and also decrease blue in lift. I see in my histograms we are really going over the top with the adjustments in lift, so what I can do here is to go to curves, and now with soft clip I can just return some of that detail in our shadow areas, like so. And let's take this even further. Continue with gamma blue, take out gamma red, and I took a little bit too much of the blue out in the lift, so let's add some blue in there too. And let's have less red in there in the lift too, and green. So now we can add a little bit of red and a little bit of green to gamma. Okay, so now we have this really nice blue tone to this image, but what I'm not really liking is the overall tone is a little bit too bright still. So let's create a parallel node, and now we can massage the luminance parts of this image. So I'll bring down gamma luminance and bring down gain luminance, like so. Also I see a little bit too much of saturation, so let's bring that down. A vignette would be pretty nice, but because we have the focus in the lower right corner, I'll actually create a gradient here. Like so. And just really crush the luminance in the left side of this image. What I'm seeing here is that the berries are disappearing a little bit too much in the overall look, so let's go back to this node. And with color adjustments we can now bring the highlights up, and also let's add a little bit more of redness and warmth. Like so. And when we go a little bit too over the top, we can go to Window, and then with key output gain, we can really find the white balance, like so. Let's fine tune this window too. Like so. And in our histogram sign saying that this could find some adjustment in lift red too. Like so. And let's adjust lift in this node. Also gamma. And finally we'll bring this whole thing together by applying a node and do our final adjustments here. So what I want to do here is add some mid-tone detail to give this a lot of pop. Bring even further down the shadows, and then we can bring it back using soft clip. And I want to use pivot in this barrier node to find the right overall luminance to these berries right here. And just a tiny bit of warmth more, like so. And if we find that there's a little bit too much saturation, we can go to this final node and bring down the color boost just a tiny bit. Alright, I'm pretty happy with this. Here's a before and here's a after. Let's break this down. We started off with basic balancing, then we neutralized the greens, pop out the reds, then we adjust the sky, and then we found the overall color for the mood and luminance. Also we added this gradient window, and finally we brought this all together in this final node. Let's see it in motion. Pretty nice. Alright, let's move on. In this clip we start off with the same basic principle. Let's add some contrast. Adjust the pivot. And add more saturation, like so. Let's create a new node and isolate the skin color. Adjust the saturation. And luminance. Now let's add blur. And there we have it. So I want to have this separated from the rest of the image, so let's create a layer node and switch the order of this one. I'll also switch the composite mode to soft light. And now we can really bring the saturation down from this overall image. Like so. And I also want to adjust the hue in this one. Let's bring some green to the overall image, like so. Let's append a node, and I want to bring down the highlights a tiny bit, so let's go to curves and use the soft clip for that. Which just makes some nice compression to the overall image. And I also want to bring down the gamma luminance a tiny bit. like so. So already we have something really interesting going on here. What we can do to bring this even further, we can create a parallel node. And now let's create a window for her and then a vignette. So let's start with the first window like this. And we can bring up the gamma just a tiny bit like so. And then a second parallel window. And for this we'll create a vignette for the overall image. And bring down the lift and gamma. And we can adjust the window further. And there we go. There's before. And there's after. Nice and simple. Let's see the breakdown of this. So we started off with the basic adjustments. Then with the combination of these two layer nodes, we created the look. Then we made some compression to the highlights. And using these two windows, we bring the viewer's attention to the right part of the image. Now viewing this, I can actually see that we could bring the luminance down even further in this node, like so. So we get a really nice punchy look to it. Also, let's double down on the saturation. Let's go to this node and just bring it down further. And I want to bring down the gamma Y even further, like so. Finally, let's see this in motion. Let's move on to this last clip. And here we start off with the same principle, balancing out the overall image first and adding more saturation. Let's bring down the highlights a tiny bit. Now in this clip I'd like to bring the focus to these flowers, so let's create a new node and start off by adjusting the greens. We go to qualifiers and find the green color without the flowers, like so. And let's adjust the saturation parts and also luminance. There. Now we can go to color adjustments and I can just bring down the color boost on these. Also what I'll do is bring down the shadows, a tiny bit of highlights too. And now we have neutralized the leaves a tiny bit. Let's create a new node. And here I want to select the flowers. Like so. I'm going to try something really interesting. I'm going to go to curves, then hue versus hue, and let's adjust the hue of the yellows. So let's make the flowers a interesting pinkish color, like so. And let's go to hue versus luminance and just bring down the luminance of these parts a tiny bit. Like so. We have also a little bit too much saturation going on, so let's go to hue versus saturation and also bring this down. Like so. I want to bring some interest to the sky too, so let's create a parallel node. Still in curves, I can go to hue versus luminance and grab the blues and bring them down. Go to hue versus saturation and bring these two up here, like so. Now to take this further, I'll append a node and let's add even more contrast. Bring it down bring the color boost down. Let's balance it a little bit further, looking at the vector scope. So we have the darkest parts neutralized. Finally, I want to guide the viewer's attention with windows, so let's create a new parallel node. Like so. With a gradient window. Let's bring down the gamma here. Let's create a second and create a window like this. And now we can just raise the gain a tiny bit. A little bit too much. Okay, and let's finalize this by bringing down the greens even further. So we can go to primary sparse and just really bring down the gain and gamma. I feel like we went a little bit too far with the blue colors, so we can go to this node and just bring down the key output gain. It's a tiny bit too dark in the right side of the image too, so let's create one more window, which is a slightly larger one. And now we can just bring down the gamma luminance and bring down the lift luminance to counteract the movement. And let's create our final node. And with this one, using the soft clip, we can just clean the darkest parts of the image. And let's bring down the saturation a tiny bit too. To make this look more natural, we can go back to the leaves and just bring up the gamma gain a tiny bit, like so. Okay, so here's before, here's after, and let's break the node structure down. We started off with the basic adjustments, then we adjusted the greens a tiny bit. We changed the color of the flowers and adjusted the skies a tiny bit. Then there's a big difference with the look adjustment, and then we made some local adjustments to the luminance to help out with the viewer's attention, and bringing it all together with the final node, lowering the saturation and contrast. Alright, so there we have it, MIDIGrade Lite and 4 different clips. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.